and that effort is still on. So I think we need to spare a thought for people like them, people who work on policy. We don't, people who work within the system, I think they're equally, they're not in the public eye.
Is there really any teamwork going on, or it is one man army, is one women army, is the environmentalist?
There are
What
few
is the
voices,
scenario?
there are very few voices, and the problem is I think the voices are being silenced now. Because we have, there is a, I sense, and it is really fearful, I sense a kind of hostility for people who try to save forests, save traditional lifestyles, livelihoods, people who try to save rivers.
But the hostility is from whom? From the wildlife poachers, or even in the corridors?
No, not so much. I don't think.
Like your voice has been heard in the corridors of power. Was it a very friendly?
No, see, it's always difficult to work with governments, but I must say commitment has always been respected. So, you know, there was, but I also think that the level of engagement has come down. If you're getting what I mean, you know,
Yeah.
of engaging with experts, engaging with scientists, engaging with the society outside. And there's also, you know, activists or conservationists like are being isolated, and I think that's more. It's more a government, and if you will see that there's this whole debate that there is growth versus environment, development versus. It's not a versus. So anybody who's standing in the what they perceive as standing in the way of growth is anti-development, is anti, you know, is not, does not have the heart of, at the heart India's interests. It's not like that. We are fighting for India's rivers, India's tigers, India's wildlife. You know, we are fighting for the future, that our generations, that they have this incredible natural bounty that the country has. So, but that, I think that whole positioning is wrong of environment versus development, and that is what has isolated people who are trying.
See, Prerna, you were an insider in this wildlife boards, maybe in the Uttarakhand or even at the nation. You're part of the core committee also, 2010 to 2013.
Yeah.
Now, what were your moments of achievements and moments of frustration in that wildlife board?
We managed to get, and it's one of my biggest satisfactions in life, we got 3 areas as protected areas. Okay. In Uttarakhand, we were able to save a part of a Corbett landscape. It's called the Nandor Wildlife Sanctuary. We were able to protect Pawalgarh Conservation Reserve. It's also next to Corbett. We got a new bird sanctuary called Naina Devi in Uttarakhand. We got, so I think these, you know, you got more area for wildlife, and it was the effort of a lot of people, forest officers, we have, you know, we took researchers, guards, whatever. So getting these new areas under protection was an immense achievement. It's a huge task. Pilibhit was declared a tiger reserve. So it takes a lot of effort. But I think what the wildlife needs most is a home. You know, so being able to give that sanctuary to them gives me immense satisfaction. And yes, we were able to halt some very destructive projects as well, but I believe they are back on the anvil again. And you know, we got a lot of pro-conservation things done, the policy of how roads should be within protected areas, restricting roads in forests.
Like when you were formulating policies there, or maybe suggesting reforms to laws, what were your moments of frustrations? Were you always heard?
No, one is
or you were a minority, like I have read your dissenting note.
There are lots of dissenting notes that you will read, but that also makes a difference. So you know, in the sense that on one dissent note an IA was filed in the Supreme Court and it halted some project. So it was frustrating because it's not easy. You are you know, it's like a, you know, you're the one who's saying no all the time. One of the ministers told me, "तुम हमेशा ना बोलते हो." तो I said, "नहीं sir, ऐसी बात नहीं है. You pick your battles," and I found that at some level, you know, commitment was, even if we were not heard, it was respected. You know, so it was very, very frustrating. Out of 10, maybe you got one thing, but that one thing was worth it, right?
Prerna, when you started your career as a journalist, you started maybe from films, crime, everything, then you settled into this conservation and all. Now, initially, it appears nobody wanted to publish much about environment conservation. Like, credit goes to you for bringing environment on the first page, almost really. Like, how did this change come about?
When I met the editor and I told him, my first job, and he's a very famous editor, I told him I wanted to write on wildlife and he laughed at me. He said कि wildlife की कोई जगह नहीं है. जब हमको टाइगर बच्चा देगा जू में तो हम we'll send a photographer. We don't need to waste money on a reporter. I said, okay, you employ me for whatever you want and you let me do wildlife environment stories, my time, my money. And that is how we started. But so I did my job, which was writing on films and theatre and everything that existed. But I did this on my time, and slowly the competitive newspaper called me up and said, do you want to join? We need an environment reporter. So I said, no, I will convince my editor first that he needs an environment. You keep another one, you know.
Like, see, you have been organizing many media workshops, so as that conservation consciousness grows into them. Is the scenario very bad? Are our journalists, they are not trained, or is it they don't have eye, they don't have a heart for it?
There are a few
There's a
who
lack
have
of expertise.
There are a few who have a heart for it. They are very frustrated as well. See, the thing is, we have to. It's the whole thing, na? Unless society sees the importance of environment, wildlife, that it's all a reflection of what media is, what is happening in the government. I think it's all connected. I mean, they will send a person for, say, whose marriage, who's whoever, Moon Sen's daughter or whatever,
some celebrity
Ambani,
parties,
something or the other. For that, you'll get a, you'll get time and you'll get a air ticket to go wherever, whatever is happening. Something in Bollywood, everything, any cricket match, anything. But nobody will invest time, money, a person to give them the, to do good investigative environment stories. I think it's all boiling now. I mean, we are coming to a tipping point as far as environment. We've seen it in Goa, we're seeing it everywhere. I mean, and what puzzles me in all this is that it impacts all of us. We care so much for our children. Why don't we think of the world we are leaving them to?
Yes, speaking about the children, you have written many articles for children on wildlife conservation. Now, has the concern petrocolated much in the textbooks?
Environment is now a subject.
Yeah.
But I'm very frankly, I'm not engaged with the education department, HRD department to do that. But it's not really a mainstream subject but there is now a course for wildlife biology in Bangalore, a specific course. So it's happening. I see it is happening, but not at the pace it should and not being mainstreamed.
This is the last question I'll ask you, because we have very little time. You have a lifetime of work. It's like putting Gagar mein sagar. What you would like to say to Goa before you leave? Oh,
Goa is such a lovely, lovely, lovely state. And it is among I would call it my first love. But Goa, what saddens me is it is so much beauty that Goa has. Tiny little state, Western Ghats, mangroves, estuaries, the coast, turtles, tigers, so much endemic wildlife. Why isn't Goa appreciating it? Right now, Goa has tigers. We have been engaging with the Goa government for years. It's refusing to accept that Goa has tigers, even when there is indisputed evidence. We need Goa to recognize the fact that it has tigers, be proud of it, and notify tiger reserves. We need Goa, I'm talking wildlife for the moment. We need Goa to keep our nesting beaches safe. The whole coastline of Goa used to get olive ridleys. Now there are 2 or 3 beaches. Beyond that, I think Goa needs to, excuse my using the word sell, Goa doesn't need to sell itself, but what it needs to highlight, what it needs to position itself is its incredible natural heritage, culture, cuisine, beauty, the houses. Look at this where we are sitting, rather than the unfortunate image it seems to have developed. I think that is what is my, and just keep Goa as it is and as it was.
That's a nice thing to end on. Prerna, thank you so much for being part of Prudent Gazali. Please come here more often. We will learn to roar like you. And let me tell you,
I'll take up your invitation.
All look forward like being like you. We want to be like you.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your concern.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. Thanks.